Welcome to the June 19th, 2018 episode of Reactive Consciousness, our first Tuesday Reactive.
Whoa.
Our in-depth podcast about what happened this week in our lives. I am your host, vysethebold, and this is...
Tuesday Lotus Prince.
And Tuesday Fakafon.
Oh man, I hate the Tuesdays.
Don't you mean you hate the Tuesdays?
Oh, I don't get it.
C-Lab 2021.
Worry, nobody would.
Yeah. Did you watch the same cartoons we did in college?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah, no, that's old school Adult Swim from like way back when Adult Swim first started.
Yeah.
That's before. Have you ever seen Archer?
Yes, I have.
So the Archer team originally made that TV show. They made C-Lab 2021, then moved on to Frisky Dingo, and then Archer. So,
Frisky Dingo? That's a weird title.
yeah, it's a very odd show, but you should watch it if you like Archer.
All right.
You can kind of see the through line from one series to the next, kind of like what they were getting at. But yeah, this is our first Tuesday recon. Also, this is the first official video on the Corrective Consciousness YouTube page. So if you are on Lotus's page, please follow the link shortly to get over to the main Corrective Consciousness page, so we can get you over there, get you subscribed, and get you commenting over there. Please keep the comments on the new one. Because we want to eventually migrate everything. Our timeline is going to be about 4 weeks. We're going to do on both channels just to give everybody a heads up, and then we'll start doing mini trailers for Lotus's site to or YouTube page to get everybody migrated properly. Hopefully, you'll be subscribed to both, no reason why you can't ring that bell for both Lotus and Corrective.
Smash that like button, ring the bell.
Click on the Amazon.
Subscribe.
Yeah, that's right.
Stamps.com. But do you get that joke?
No, I don't.
Was it like with podcasters who just like drop their Amazon links to like if you drop my name via the Amazon page or something?
Well, if you have Amazon links, you get like affiliate.
Yeah. So it's
money.
like it's the same product page, but if you click the link that I give you that has my like account kind of tied to it, then I'll get a little I forgot the word for it. Kickback. Yes, that's the one.
So there's that, and also like Stamps.com like frequently advertises on podcasts.
Oh, okay.
So like if you listen to a lot of podcasts, you would have been like, wait, does every fucking podcast have a Stamps.com commercial on it? And the answer is yes. And MeUndies. That's another one.
Yeah, I remember MeUndies from like the Bill Burr podcast.
Oh yeah. In fact, I listen to Stuff You Should Know, which is like one of the Discovery Network podcasts. And they actually had fans like order MeUndies and get them signed by them, which is really funny.
That's pretty great.
And then frame them, which is really funny. Will you sign MeUndies?
You sign MeUndies, I want to frame them.
Well, anyway, we have a lot to talk about. Mainly the dangling participles on the last week's reactive, the stuff that we didn't react to from E3, and there's some really cool stuff, especially from Sony and from Nintendo.
I'm disappointed when you said.
Wait, did you really forget Nintendo?
No, it hadn't happened
we
yet.
recorded before their day.
No, it's funny. Oh, the other guy, Nintendo, who the heck?
Yeah, some Japanese company from like 200 years ago, I don't know.
Yeah, they're not important.
No, but when Vice said dangling participle, I thought he meant the item you could find in King's Quest 6.
King's Quest 5. 6! 6.
Yeah, 6. Where are you going?
Wow.
It should be, where are you going to?
Whoa, wait a minute.
Fakafon actually does know that obscure King's Quest reference. Jesus.
Yeah, of course. I love King Quest.
Wow.
King's Quest was very popular when it came out, but like literally no one I knew, except for this one guy from my elementary school, had ever heard of it. Like my cousins had heard of it. Vice apparently had heard of it. I was quite surprised, but like I didn't know anybody who knew about King's Quest for most of my life.
Well, you want to know how I know about King's Quest? It's kind of a funny anecdote.
Oh, go for it.
So when I was young, I went to the hospital because I had something with my eye. I was there for like a week or two.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
And they had computer games, they had a library, so I read a lot of books and I started playing their computer games. There was Commander Keen and King's Quest V there.
Nice.
Oh, good choices. Yeah.
So that's where I actually learned about these two games in the hospital. It was amazing.
Curious.
Oh. Except for the hospital stay and all. But
the people were nice, so, you know.
That's cool.
Where they were like, an eye for an eye.
No. No.
We're going Old Testament on you, Fakafon.
Please no. Repent.
But anyway, we want to get going here on Reactive. So I want to go over quickly Sony stuff that we didn't really touch on last episode, and that is the big announcement was Last of Us 2, which I didn't see coming.
Yeah, I mean, like, everybody knew there was going to be one, but they didn't know when, and they were like, oh, we're doing it.
Nice.
Yeah, and it looks gorgeous. I mean, a lot of that is in-game rendering, I think. All the cinematics and stuff are in-game renders.
And by the way, old school Last of Us had no problem getting brutal and vicious with its violence, but 2 really looks like it's stepping up its game in terms of that. Like, the kills you do are just nasty looking. Like, Ellie does not hold back.
It looks like it's going to vary up the gameplay types. I heard one of the major criticisms of Last of Us OG, as it were. I never got a chance to play it quite yet, but I heard that it got very samey in terms of the combat scenarios towards the end.
Yeah,
it kind of
pretty
did,
much.
yeah. I mean, it's Uncharted with zombies. So, because it's more of a zombie game, it's Uncharted, like, without the climbing. It's really the aesthetic change, so it does turn into a lot of gunplay and, like, what you'd expect.
Yeah.
and there's a lot of walking and talking. Like, if it's your first playthrough, you're gonna love it. But if you're playing through again to get achievements or whatever, I can see it getting tiresome, every single time.
It's a cinematic game just like Uncharted is. I mean, Uncharted, especially like the later ones, really embraced the fact that it was like a live-action movie. A movie that you were playing rather... And you would also play it like a movie. Like, you wouldn't play it to play it like a game. You would play it to enjoy it like a movie.
No, exactly. But again, in a second playthrough, it can get a little weird. Like with Uncharted 4, for example, There are parts where you're talking as you're driving your car, but you need to get to a destination. But in an Uncharted 3, there would be parts where you're, like, walking and talking, and you're like, could I just run, though? It's like No More Heroes when you get on the phone before the boss door. You're like, let me just run there.
A few games did that, actually, where they just forcefully stop you. And
a lot of games did that, yeah. It's frustrating every time.
Yeah, every time. Even if you're just like, okay, I get it, you're talking, please just let me move.
And God forbid you die and they make you do it again.
Oh.
So, the big one for me, that I've been following for the last 3 E3s, I think this is the third E3 it showed up at.
Yeah.
Or at least the third major press conference it's been at. I think the first time it showed up was the Video Game Awards, but I'm not quite certain. But the third Death Stranding trailer came out. And I am so hyped about this one. Did you guys watch this?
No, actually I haven't.
Well, the thing with Death Stranding, I have 2 things to say about it. The first is the running jokes that the more you see about the game, like the more confused you are each time.
Yep.
I love that.
Yep. And it's still the case.
Yeah, but the only real gameplay they showed was, like, there were no enemies or anything. Like, it didn't show action scenes. It just showed you carrying a backpack around, or you had this little radar-looking antenna thing on your backpack, and it's booping, and you're just walking around these empty landscapes. I mean, like, it looked gorgeous, but, like, I don't know what you're doing or why.
Yeah, I mean, this was the first time, to be more specific, this is the first time we've seen, like, gameplay.
Yeah, actual gameplay. But it's just walking around. We haven't seen any, like, we still really haven't seen anything. It's just like, yup, walking, like you'd expect in a video game, so we still learned nothing.
Well, there are some things that it hinted at that I thought were interesting, namely in the fact that you are a courier, it appears, in the game, and you have lots of different missions. It's not carrying various different items to different places. It's not just one thing. So it was cool because you could see the various sizes of packages and how it hinders your movement.
There is something I'm curious about, though, regarding being a courier. Because I'm wondering if the gameplay focuses on you actually being a courier, or if it's like Mirror's Edge, where it's like, the premise of the game is that you're a courier, but just have fun with this crazy parkour stuff and gunfights and stuff.
No, I think it's gonna be an open world game, kind of like MGS5, but like even more so. Like I think it's going to be similar to Horizon Zero Dawn because it's made by the same guys.
There's nobody around ever. Like, you're just kind of walking around, God knows where. Like, I don't know what happened. I don't know why there's this like invisible animal walking around or whatever that was. It's intriguing.
Its footprints are handprints.
What I really liked about that, though, was, they're handprints, but you also see that it has claws, and I think the physics worked like they would have in real life, where you put, like, your hand down, but then your fingertips hit, so you see, like, this hand print just appear, and then claws kind of come out of it, and you're like, oh, Jesus.
Oh, man.
Like, don't let that come near me.
I think it looks, extremely intriguing. You know what it reminds me of? We could do a callback to this. We mentioned this on a podcast way back when, but probably about a year ago at this point. But it reminds me of Stalker, like the Stalker movie.
The
that
movie.
We watched.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I thought you meant the game.
Well, I was like, I can't help you there.
Well, no. I mean the Russian movie.
Just the general aesthetic where everything's just like a wasteland. Now, in Death Stranding, there wasn't garbage lying around everywhere, but like something must have happened because there's nobody anywhere.
Yeah, there's it doesn't look like there's like industrial like decay like there is in Stalker. Like there's obviously like urban decay everywhere.
That's the thing. You are like, the technology you use, I mean, I can't promise any of this, but it looks like it looks like it's been in some way repurposed. Like, I just get the feeling, seeing what you're wearing on your backpack, like, if society were normal, I think you would have a better version of that. I just get the feeling. It looks like you're working with what you have.
I love that. If society was normal.
Yeah. I think Kojima has, like, gone full into the, like, the obscure, like, way of telling stories, kind of like, From has been doing. I think he saw that it can work, only giving tidbits of story and not like fully explaining it. Like, I think he learned a lot from the mistakes of like Metal Gear Solid 4, which explained way too much. Like we didn't want those explanations. We don't want to know that vampires are not actually vampires. They're just everything's nanomachines. Like
I didn't even mind that. Just the only thing was like they were like, the game had like, the ending just kept going and everything was laid down for you all at once, and it was like, whoa, dude, let me like
all wrapped up in a tiny bow.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though I like it being wrapped up in a tiny bow, it's like everything at once. Like, calm down.
Yeah. I like the very, very end of MGS4, in the cemetery. I like that scene a lot.
Yeah.
There was some really cool callbacks to like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and a few other things there. Where he confronts his father essentially. So it's really cool. But I'm looking forward to this. I think it's going to be great, and I don't know when it will ever come out. Like,
right.
It might even be out, in that weird time period in between one system and another. Because what did Sony say, that the PS5 is coming in 2020? So who knows? It may even just come out like right before it next year. who knows? But or it might come out for both systems, kind of like Ground Zeroes did.
Well, the PS4 did a lot of that. There was a lot of simultaneous release for PS3 and PS4.
Yeah, but what I'm getting at is I don't trust him to adhere to any timeline because he never has.
Well, yeah, it's like Beyond Good and Evil 2, which was also shown, by the way, but it was just another movie trailer, and I'm like, yeah, we saw it before, and there's zero progress like that we can see. Like, they had a gameplay trailer for like the PS3 era. Obviously, that's not happening. Then they had a cool movie trailer. They're like, oh, it's still working. And this E3, they had another movie trailer. I'm like, all right, but that still doesn't tell me anything like about the actual release date or what. Like, Beyond Good and Evil 1 ended on a cliffhanger, and that was on the freaking PS2. So it's like, when are you gonna come out with the game?
Maybe they're actually hinting that it's gonna be a movie and not a game.
Oh man, what a coup that would be.
That would be a kick in the balls for everybody,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, like I said, I'm excited for it. Whenever it comes out, it comes out. But I have faith that he's working with a studio that he doesn't have complete control over. Like, he has complete control, creative control, but he doesn't have like programming control over. You know what I mean? Like, they can get their shit done. They're a company that has a track record of shipping games and good games. So I think it's the company that made Horizon Zero Dawn. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, nice.
And Horizon Zero Dawn is fantastic. By the way, I am at the very, very end of that game. I platinumed the Frozen Wilds.
Yeah.
And I got the power armor, which is one of the last things that you can do before moving on to the final battle.
Nice.
So I'm excited about that. But yeah, power armor in a game where you've been going around as a savage the whole time. It's great.
Yeah.
I love it. So anyway, I thought that was really cool, but I think this one is totally your jam, Lotus. Go off on it.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is something that's been teased. Like, we haven't seen gameplay, we haven't seen development, we haven't seen cutscenes or anything. Just all years ago, it was hinted at that there would be a Resident Evil 2 remake, and everybody got super hyped because there already has been a Resident Evil 1 remake, and it's everything you would want in a remake. It's the first game again, but it looked better, it had better lighting, it had more stuff, it had more enemies, and it still had the fixed camera angles. Like, it was Resident Evil 1, but better. Like, it was unbelievable. And, skippable cutscenes, by the way, thank God, because, like, man, Resident Evil 1, like, you just sit there for all those dialogue scenes, and Wesker's, like, the final boss room setup is, like, a good 10 minutes worth of scene where you're just doing nothing. So skipping all that, the ability to, is so cool. But they had mentioned, there may be a Resident Evil 2 remake. And then, it was just dead, radio silence for a long time. And then we learned that there was this group, I think it might be like an Italian group, that took the assets from Resident Evil Darkside Chronicles on the Wii, or I think PSN as well. And that's the game that's like the first person rail shooter, but it did like a Resident Evil 2 campaign. So they took some of its assets and well, what if we just make like an over-the-shoulder shooter like Resident Evil 4 with these assets? Because
and it also looked really good. I think they did it in the Unreal Engine, if I remember correctly.
Oh, that I didn't know, but it did look cool. But then they got shut down because Resident Evil 2 Remake was supposed to actually be happening. So, bad news, but also good news. And now they finally released cinematics and some gameplay for Resident Evil 2. And there are definitely things that I have negative feelings about, but it looks like a goddamn good game. The main things I would complain about are... it does not appear to be fixed camera angle, so it's not a remake. It's it looks like a reimagining, which is still damn cool in its own right, but this is not going to be Resident Evil 1 remake for Resident Evil 2. So just be aware that it's a different game. It's going to be an over-the-shoulder like Resident Evil 4, although I assume without the tank controls, because Resident Evil 4 was still a product of its time.
Yeah, I would think that it would be more like the controls of Resident Evil 5 rather than 4.
Probably. We could actually control
because
you
could strafe. You could strafe.
Yeah, Resident
That's
Evil
one of the
4
things.
was tank controls like in the over the shoulder.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because like when I played Resident Evil 4 when it first came out, I was like, oh man, this game's amazing. This is like one of the best things I've ever played. And then you go back to it and you're like, man, I really wish I could strafe in this.
That's the thing. Like it's still playable, but you're like, oh. Like it's
oh
like
yeah, it's still great, but it missed that crucial that one crucial innovation before it got perfect.
Like it's like what I've said about the Yakuza games. Once you play 3, 4, and 5, going back to 2 feels weird. And now that I've played 6, even going back to 5 is gonna feel a bit weird. Like loading screens everywhere. But another thing about Resident Evil 2, the remake that I am concerned about. I saw this brought up in my Discord chat, but I didn't really think about it. But now that it's mentioned, they're absolutely right. My God, this game is dark, and I mean like literally dark, and that's kind of a problem because like Resident Evil 2 was, I mean, there obviously were dark places, but the police station was generally well lit. That was kind of a complaint people had with Resident Evil 1's remake as well. Everything is way darker, but the mansion was pretty well lit. And it's like, I hope that I can see what I'm doing in the Resident Evil 2 remake. Like, I don't want to be fighting zombies and having to, like, crank my gamma to the point where I blind myself. Because, like, this looks dark. But that said, the actual visuals are freaking gorgeous. And, oh, this is funny, by the way. This just amused me. I didn't really think about it, but there's gonna be bathrooms now because they're like the police station, which was a repurposed museum, just didn't have bathrooms in Resident Evil 2.
Oh my God, I never thought about that.
Yeah, like it's a video game, so who cares? But in real life, it would be like, wait, like no way.
They just go in the backyard.
Yeah.
I am really hoping that they still have that gun store owner because I really want to hear.
Kendo?
Kendo, I think he's back. Yeah.
That guy was a maniac. Why'd he bite me?
Oh no, that was a trucker. That was just some trucker.
Trucker, yeah.
Yeah, Kendo was like, but don't you worry, girlie. I'll be fine in here. And then he just gets eaten.
Then he
dies.
Immediately.
Yeah. They probably will though. Like I doubt they're gonna cut out a character. He wasn't crucial.
Yeah, but that delivery is like. So
there's no way that voice is staying. It's not gonna happen. But
I hope so. I hope so.
Why did he bite me?
Although no, there is one thing though that. I guess there's one more thing that bothers me, and that is that there's pre-order DLC. Now the good news is that it's not crucial. It's like, I think you can get the Jill, the Chris, and the Wesker Samurai Edge guns. So it's just kind of like, it's a cool thing. But I wish they would just include, like Resident Evil 2 was all in one package, right? And so was the remaster of the Resident Evil 1 remake. So like, don't do that shit, please. Although one thing I will say is amazing, is that there's other DLC, like there's a DLC package included with a particular pre-order. But one of them, this got me. I hope to God they really run with this. I don't know if you guys know this, but like in the Resident Evil 1 remaster, like, well, in the first Resident Evil 1 remake, Jill had an extra costume, which was her Resident Evil 3 Nemesis outfit, her default one. Because that was the last thing Jill had been in at that time that I can think of. And Chris had an alternate costume that was his Code Veronica outfit, for the same reason. And when the remaster came out, they updated it again. So you still had those costumes, but Jill and Chris both had their Resident Evil 5, whatever their organization is, BSAA or something like that.
Yeah,
so they had their more modern costumes. Now Resident Evil 0, you didn't even have to go to the closet for this. Like in Resident Evil 1, the remake, you could just choose your costume at the start of the game. But you could also go to the closet to change if you wanted to. In Resident Evil 0, you could change to any costume you want on the fly during gameplay. And it's like everything Rebecca has ever worn, including obscure stuff. And there's a reason I'm bringing this up, because this connects to Resident Evil 2. Now, 2 costumes that Rebecca could get, one of them cracked me up. It was in her basketball jersey from that one photo in Resident Evil 2.
Oh, yeah,
the secret photo.
Oh, yeah.
And the other was, it kind of looks like her Resident Evil 1 outfit, but it's red, and she has like a medic's cap. And that's a piece of trivia. That's from Resident Evil 0, the prototype version, when it was being designed for the Nintendo 64. The reason I bring this up is that one of the there's a DLC costume for Claire in the upcoming Resident Evil 2, and this blows my fucking mind. Elza Walker. Do you recognize that name by any chance?
Not sure.
She was going to be the hero in what is now known as Resident Evil 1.5. That was that was the you know how Resident Evil 2, like some versions of it, or no, excuse me. You know how the Resident Evil 1 director's cut came with the Resident Evil 2 preview disc?
Sure.
Well, in Japan, obviously the game came out first there. Their preview disc was different from ours. It wasn't playable, but just a movie of what would have been Resident Evil 2, which is now known as 1.5. And it had Elsa, who was like blonde, completely different outfit. So like Claire's gonna get an Elsa outfit, which is like that's fantastic. Capcom has always been really good at fan service, and that's a solid example.
Yeah, but that's like fan service.
Yeah, well, Japanese people would probably get it more easily than Americans would. With Americans, it's a pretty niche community. Japan, it was more of a mainstream thing. It was like, here's the game that you're going to get. Oh, wait, actually, we're changing it up. Like, Americans officially never knew. So it's really cool regardless.
Can I add one last thing about Resident Evil?
No, we're done.
Go for it.
Oh, shit. Well, never mind.
I mean, go ahead, yeah.
So
react to us and don't talk.
Just say So we were actually like you said, we were talking about the lighting thing in Resident Evil 2's remake, where it's dark everywhere, and I was talking about that in the Discord with other people. And what I think happened is, because they don't have the fixed camera angles anymore, the way they made the player feel tension or danger is they couldn't control the camera. If there was an enemy on screen, the only way you would know is to aim at it and be like, oh shit, there it is, or to hear it. But now, since you don't have that restriction where the camera is free, wherever you look, you're gonna see it ahead of you now, they needed to make a way so you couldn't see the enemies anymore like they did before. And I think the only way to do that is to make everything dark, since you control the camera now.
Yeah, I mean, like, that is legit, but, like, I do want to be able to see the game I'm playing. Like, I'm okay with it being somewhat dark, but, like, don't overdo it.
You know what I'm excited about in this game is this is going to be the first time where Resident Evil 2 will actually feel like it's in a city.
That's a good point.
Because they'll be able to render a lot more zombies all at once, and they'll have to because they're so much easier to kill.
Yeah. Actually, here's the thing about that.
With the aiming controls.
Yeah, but now that you mention it, here's the thing about that, though. I think Resident Evil 3 realized that more. Because Resident Evil 2, you start in the city, but that is, like, the first, 3 minutes of gameplay, and then it's over.
Yeah, and that's it. But, that's really what, it was kind of like, the hell on earth kind of thing. It's one thing...
Yeah, the opening screen is like, oh shit, like it's everywhere.
It's one thing to have it in an isolated area, like a mansion, with a top secret laboratory underneath it. Mm-hmm. That's an isolated area, but where actual civilization is being taken over, that's terrifying. Huge amounts of lives lost all at once.
And not only that, this is it's going to sound like a minor thing out of context, but just that one screen, or I guess technically two screens, where you run from the front to the back of a bus, just a city bus, just running through it.
That's iconic.
Pretty surreal. Yeah. Oh, by the way, one thing I should mention, I forgot about this, is apparently the Resident Evil 2 remake is going to have stuff that was left on the cutting room floor for the original Resident Evil 2. Resident Evil 1's remake did that too. Lisa Trevor was apparently proposed way back when, and didn't happen. But then she did in the remake. So Resident Evil 2, I think, is going to get stuff like that, which is pretty rad. I am really hyped about seeing Birkin's changes. I cannot wait to see Birkin's changes. Also, Mr. X is rocking a fedora, I think. It kind of looks badass on him, but...
He always had a fedora, didn't he?
No, he had no hat. He had the big trench coat.
Yeah, he had no hat.
Yeah, no hat. He had the super trench coat, but he never wore a hat. But this time, I don't know. It kind of works. It doesn't not work, but it's I gotta get used to it. But it's decent.
Oh man,
This mindless zombie had enough time to primp himself.
Yeah, he stays dressed. Yeah.
And
wears a-
tip his hat to
The
Milady.
the thing is though, I think he was manufactured that way. Like, of all games in the world to bring up fucking Survivor, but like you go into like basically the Mr. X factory. They're like you just see a bunch of him in tubes, and you have to fight multiple Mr. X's, and it's like fuck. So like. Yeah, I mean, even in Resident Evil 2, you see him kind of like come out of a pod like that. So I guess Umbrella just felt like giving him a hat in the remake. All right.
It's like when the Ninja Turtles go out on the town.
It's just a weird decision.
I dropped the sigh.
Yeah, no, it's just a weird decision from Umbrella's perspective. Give him a hat that will come off because he's a fighter. It reminds me of like M. Bison's like fighting girls, like Cammy.
Oh,
It's like they're all girls because Vega was in charge of making them, and he's like, "Well, girls are hot. I'm making girls." It's like a quirky decision like that, like Umbrella. Some guy in Umbrella is like, he's got to have a hat. Like,
gotta have a
okay,
hat.
whatever, man.
or kind of like Q from Street Fighter as well. You know, the guy with the fedora and the suit.
I never thought
Yeah.
about it, but Q is Mr. X.
Pretty much now.
He's brutal.
Do we know whether this game is co-op? You know, like a lot of the recent Resident
I
Evils
don't
have been?
know, but if I had to guess, if it's any kind of remake, I'm gonna say no because Leon and Claire, at least in the original, never did anything together. They had crossover moments, but like
Sure.
they had different campaigns. Where it'd be like, "Oh, Leon, oh, thanks for saving me earlier. Hey, have you seen Sherry? No, not really." And then they split up again. So a co-op campaign would radically change the story, unless it's at the last second.
You could feasibly do at least on Leon's campaign, Leon Ada, like co-op.
That would be cool.
Again, that's possible for like a couple of sections. There are definitely
Yeah.
sections in the game where she fights alongside you, but like absolutely not the whole game because the Ada's whole thing is she's mysterious and you don't know what she's doing, and she keeps disappearing and reappearing.
Well, keep in mind they're going to add a lot more sections to this game. It's not going to be as short as the original game.
No, that's certainly
by a
true,
long
but I
shot.
mean like unless you're able to simultaneously play different things like in A Way Out or whatever, like the Ada players get to like put the controller down or something weird like every once in a while.
Yeah. No,
And again, Claire and Sherry, no way.
Well,
Give Sherry a gun.
yeah, give Sherry a gun. Could you imagine? It would be so much harder for like a zombie to have to bend down to like get.
Well, no,
to her.
actually, that was a thing in the original game. Sherry could never get grabbed. The zombies would be restricted to their very easily dodgeable vomit attack, which you don't often see with the regular players unless they're on stairs or something, because it's like they might as well grab you, but they could only
can't grapple.
vomit. Yeah, but they could only vomit at Sherry, so like she's never really in any danger, but she's also slow and can't fight. So it's like you still felt the pressure.
Yeah, the only threat really were the dogs.
Yeah, those were a problem.
As they always are.
Actually, did Sherry even have those? I know Ada had those.
I think there's one screen where there's dogs.
Oof, brutal. Okay.
So anything else on Sony's end here?
We should stop, because if we keep going, it'll be the whole podcast.
Yeah, it'll be endless. I guess the only other thing I'll say is I don't remember if it was announced at E3 specifically or not, but apparently Soul Calibur 6 has a release date. I think it's like October, so I'm excited.
Nice.
Yeah, and also some Witcher crossover action there, huh?
Yeah, Geralt is the guy that Soul Calibur's crossing over with this time, and he's pretty appropriate. It's like Link. Like Heihachi doesn't feel like he belongs in Soul Calibur, but like Yoshimitsu and Link and Geralt do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they had to add somebody to complicate rights issues in years to come. So
I know.
Glad they,
Yeah.
Like it was Star Wars characters. What for 4?
Yes.
5 had
Assassin's Creed,
Actually-
I think.
Assassin's Creed. Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that. Oh, and also 5 had this was if you create a fighter, so it was never an official character, but you could create a character that is remarkably similar to Devil Jin from Tekken, complete with eye lasers.
Yeah, I think you could, like, the hair and the shorts and everything.
Yeah, and it was really funny too because no one knew about that on launch date, because why would they? You would usually play with your favorite character. So I went on some multiplayer match at Luminaire's house and just did the eye lasers with somebody, and like they were like, what the fuck? Because nobody sees it coming. Like, nobody sees that coming. Like, why would they?
Why
like,
would you?
Yeah, just floats in the air and eye lasers. Like, that's bullshit.
My favorite was when Mr. Ryu like made a guy dressed up as Sonic.
Man.
And had him have Valdo's moveset, so he was rolling around in a ball
At the speed of sound, baby.
Oh,
Nice.
It's so funny. So it looked like a demented, like, horny Sonic, like, guy in a Sonic suit, like,
Yeah.
just rolling around being a pervert.
And just doing the worm and cutting you up while he does it. And it's like, what?
It's so funny. Well, I always pine for this every single time. I think this is always my favorite part, but it's Nintendo's part of E3. I'm a Nintendo fanboy, but I always think that they have the best announcements.
Are you sure?
Well, the irony is that this year in particular, people thought that Nintendo had by far the weakest presentation of anyone else because they
I don't think
only
so.
Smash.
I don't think so. Yeah. I mean, that is a big deal.
No, it is, but like people thought that people liked Smash, but they thought that like everyone else did better except for like EA, which was just bland talking the entire time.
EA stunk. We didn't even talk about EA. It's because, like, what's there to talk about?
They just talked.
I mean, there's Unravel 2, which I'm interested in, but that's about it. So you kind of let the cat out of the bag. The big thing was Smash Brothers Ultimate. Not that we're spoiling anything for anybody here, but every single Smash character ever in any Smash
Finally,
game.
I could play as Pichu again.
Wait, what do you mean, everyone?
No, like
every character
everyone! No, for real though. Like even like this is the one thing I never thought would happen. Solid Snake again with David Hayter as the voice.
Yeah, I'm so excited, and not only that, but that gives me hope that he'll have an amiibo as well.
Hey, do you think that's a good point? Do you think he'll have the Kodak conversations again?
I hope so. I hope so. They were so great.
He has so many more characters to comment on.
Also have his not Kodak conversations.
Well, like I said, there's so many more characters now that every single character, in the series so far is going to show up. Plus 2 more, right? Yeah, the Squidlings and
Ridley.
3 more then, because there's Daisy and there's also Ridley from Metroid.
Yeah,
I thought Daisy was a palette swap.
Even if she is, she's at least not literally a costume for Peach.
Okay, so I think DLC is going to show up for this game as well. I wouldn't be surprised, and they'll probably add Waluigi finally. I think for DLC, but
he deserves it, man.
Wow.
I unironically like Waluigi. I really do.
Yeah, he's pretty awesome. What was the first game he was in? Was it N64's
Mario Tennis?
Yeah.
I remember. I was fascinated by his victory pose because he just kind of waved his racket around, but then he had like an eye glint. I was like, "Ooh, is he like evil?" And like, but he was always just kind of like like a joke of a villain. He was never really like a villain.
He's like
except for unless you count like Mario Party 4.
Yeah, he's just a mischievous person. He's never done anything like really bad. Like
Wario's first game was like, I'm the new Mario villain. Like, oh damn! Like Waluigi is just like a partner for Wario and Mario Tennis. It's like, oh.
Yep. Yeah. What's he done? He just hangs out with Wario and
he looks
grabs
creepy
coins.
And I don't know. He's a sore winner and loser, I guess. Whatever.
Yep. And is the boyfriend of Wa Daisy.
I wish.
What Daisy?
And Wario is in love with Weech.
Well, no, actually, I heard that Nintendo was considering making like a Waru Peachy or something, and it didn't
Waru
happen.
Peachy.
Wow.
That'd have been fantastic.
I would love to see that
like a
design.
He should still have a mustache. That would be
Yeah,
so
exactly. Like a sloppy jerk Peach. It's like, what?
with a mustache. I would
Peach.
die.
That would be
really
amazing.
gangly too, like a really tall, gangly lady.
Yeah, it's
with
like
a mustache. I would love it.
Yeah, I just love Waluigi's mustache. Is like very angular.
Yeah, it's really great. But I am so excited because Snake was my favorite character in Brawl, and Brawl is probably the least favorite Smash game. So because of the pratfalls and a couple other design decisions.
And you are floaty in that game. Like, I didn't realize when I played Brawl, I had a perfectly good time. But when I went back to Melee, I was like, the characters are like rocks. Like, how?
Oh yeah, no, I actually don't like Melee because of that. I think the Smash Brothers 4, Wii U and 3DS. It's actually pretty funny that they named it that. I didn't realize the pun until only like a few weeks ago.
What was
Smash Brothers 4, Wii U, 4, 3DS.
Smash Brothers 4 Wii U? What? I don't get it.
Did they ever call it 4? I thought it was just called Super Smash Brothers.
Super Smash Brothers 4, but FOR and FOUR are the pun.
Yeah,
because
but
it's
I
the fourth
get that
game.
it's a pun, but I didn't know that the game was ever called 4.
Oh, I'm sorry, Vice. I think that joke just totally failed.
No, it's not. It's not a joke. That's an actual pun that Nintendo intentionally made.
Wait, really?
They Smash Brothers 4, and then they added the system that it was on.
Oh, I had no idea that was even a thing.
Oh, fair enough. Oh, on the
because
box,
it's the fourth
like
game.
FOR?
No, but that's the pun.
Okay.
It's the fourth game, so it's Smash 4.
Well, now
but anyway.
I'm so sorry. We gotta flunk that bit.
Yeah. By the way, I do think, I assume
It's true.
that if Smash Ultimate's going to have everybody, like, I do hope that it has both the Wii U and the 3DS levels, because there were system-specific levels.
So I think somebody listed all of the levels that were not included. Like the Mario Maker level is definitely not in the new one.
Okay.
That was one that I noticed. There are several that aren't there. Like the Ice Climber level is not there.
I mean, nobody
cares
ever
about those.
liked the Ice Climber level.
Yeah. I mean, all the favorites are going to be there. Let's just put it that way.
On one hand, it'd be
Green
cool
Hill
if they
Zone's
had it
not
just
gonna
so
be
they could
there.
say it's the complete comprehensive list, but like I'm not gonna miss it.
Green Hill Zone's not going to be there.
And that's kind of too bad, actually.
Yeah. I like the springs and stuff on it, but anyway.
Well, not only that, but the levels came with music. Like, I hope they still have Sonic's like music and stuff.
Oh yeah, I didn't think about that.
Not to mention like Snake's level, like Yell Dead Cell.
That's
For
awesome.
the love of God, please keep that.
It's one of the best.
Yeah. Well, we should move on. But I am super excited. I mean, that's all I really wanted out of the new Smash game was to have Snake in it, and
Do you think one of the fight themes is going to be the super slow Old Snake theme? I just feel bad playing the game.
That's funny. But
Sorry.
that's funny.
Yeah,
But anyway,
that's funny.
new Fire Emblem, which is pretty great. On the 3DS, this is the first console one in a while since the Wii one.
On the Switch.
Well, yeah, but it's a console.
But you said on the 3DS.
Oh, you said 3DS.
Oh, I meant on the Switch. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's okay.
So this is the first one they've had since the Wii one.
Yeah, it's weird because Fire Emblem was, I think it was console, like it was a heavy console game, and then it went on to like the Game Boy as well. But after Radiant Dawn, after the Wii game, it was just console exclusive for years.
Oh, you mean portable exclusive? It was portable exclusive.
Oh, excuse me. Now I'm the one reversing it. Yeah, it was portable exclusive for years.
So it started on the Famicom,
Yeah.
and then went to the Super Nintendo, and didn't have an N64 entry to my knowledge.
I don't think so,
I
but
don't
I think
think
there
so.
was one that was planned, but they didn't do it.
Yeah, and then I think they just straight up moved on to
It probably would
GBA.
have looked awful.
Yeah.
Well,
Can you imagine? Because you don't want it to fall into that like now it's in 3D trap and look like garbage. Like Ogre Battle moved along
Ogre Battle
and
looked good.
maintained 2D and it looks amazing as a result. But Fire Emblem, who knows?
Yeah, but this is great. I mean, I would actually be even happier with an Advance Wars
Oh my god.
title on the Switch. I would be very happy with that. But
I guess it'd be called Switch Wars at that point, wouldn't it?
yeah. Well, I mean,
Well, actually, you never know because on GameCube it was called Battalion Wars, so it's it's just a generic.
And Wii U, it was Battalion Wars 2. So
Yeah, I kind of regret not picking up the Battalion Wars game because I never knew that they were Advance Wars games. I thought it was just a generic title, and I didn't realize the blank Wars has been a thing since the very beginning, like Famicom
Yeah.
Wars.
Oh, okay.
yeah. They even had a Game Boy Wars game.
Oh,
and
wow.
everything. Yeah,
I never knew about that.
They recently translated it, translated it. So yeah, and then of course, it went on to Advance Wars. Advance Wars was the first one we got out of that entire strategy.
Yeah, the two Advance Wars games, the
games.
DS game, and somewhere in there, the GameCube game.
Yeah. So, I'm excited for that, and then a couple little games. Oh, well, this one looks really neat. Did you see Daemon Ex Machina?
No.
I think I heard the name, but I don't know anything about it.
So this is a game made by an old From Software alumnus. He is making a new mech game. It looks like Armored Core, but it
nice.
looks more action oriented. So it'll probably be more like Metal Wolf Chaos than Armored Core. It looks less simmy than Armored Core, in other words. So
by the way,
it looks like a lot of fun.
Speaking of a From Software person, did we ever talk about, even last week, the Not Souls game they're making?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, I think we did. I think you guys did, actually.
No,
I wasn't there.
You were there in spirit, Fakafon.
Yeah.
Sorry, I tried to include myself.
Yeah, there we go.
I'm part of the gang.
And then you have Super Mario Party, which is a good addition because you could play 4-player all on one Switch and just lay it down.
Cool.
So that'll be a lot of fun as a portable game that you can take anywhere. But this one kind of got me excited because I don't know if you've seen this at the conventions that we've gone to for a few years, but this one has made the rounds at MagFest. Killer Queen.
I've seen the machines, but I don't know what the actual game is.
So it's like it's like a real-time strategy game, and it was 4-on-4, I think, or 5-on-5. And it was like a big arcade machine, and it's a lot of fun to play, but it was never ported to anything or sold to anybody. It was just an arcade machine. They are making a 4-on-4 version of it for the Switch.
Nice.
It's rebalanced.
That's pretty cool.
Is it dynamite with a laser beam?
Yeah.
Is it classy like a Baroness?
Guaranteed to blow your mind.
Does it always change its address for convenience, or however that lyric goes?
Yeah, that looked cool. And then right after E3, Nintendo was like, and here's this. All of a sudden, without warning or announcement or anything like that, or fanfare, they dropped the original Donkey Kong onto the Switch. In its original form.
Yeah, this is like arcade Punch-Out levels of like nobody saw this coming.
Yeah, so at least they announced Arcade Punch-Out. They announced Arcade Punch-Out and a line of their arcade games, but they only said, I think, 3 games or 4 games were coming out. Versus Super Mario Brothers, Punch-Out, Super Punch-Out, and which still hasn't come out. Super Punch-Out still hasn't come out, and the original Mario Brothers, the arcade game. Now, they didn't say Donkey Kong was coming, and nobody expected it because there are apparently rights issues with the original Donkey Kong. Apparently, it was like ghost programmed. So maybe they had to work out some issues, legal rights issues. But this also marks the only time it's ever been published unaltered with all of its original levels since Donkey Kong 64, which I think they kind of snuck in.
Donkey Kong 64, it was a mini game in the Frantic Factory level. Like, it was one of those games within games. Like, Jet Force Gemini had something like this, where you could just go into an arcade and play the machine and like a racing game. But in DK64,
it was a slot car game, right?
OG Donkey Kong with the second level that most people didn't see outside of the arcades, which was that, like, it looks like a pie factory with conveyor belts and stuff.
Nice.
Normally, like, the Nintendo Donkey Kong has 3 levels. The classic one with the red girders, the
Springs.
What was it?
Springs.
Yeah, the spring one, which is that's the worst level, and then the last level where you defeat Donkey Kong by breaking the pieces off of the blue girders. But that factory-ish level, again, a lot of people probably don't know it exists unless they played DK64. Either that, or if you have a Donkey Kong arcade machine near you, because like that's not exactly mainstream, even though everyone knows what it is. So like now you can play it.
Yeah, I'm very excited about this because I never thought they would ever do it, and also now I don't need to buy Donkey Kong 64 on the Wii U, so I'm very excited
I think
about
you
that.
do, don't you? I think you no, you should buy Donkey Kong 64 on Wii U. Don't you want to play Jetpack on the ZX Spectrum?
Look, man, I could do that on the Xbox One. They have that on the Xbox
Oh,
One.
no
so
kidding.
Yeah, on the Rare Replay collection. So don't.
Oh,
Give
that
me
was on. Oh, well, yeah, that is a really old school Rare game, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So in fact, they put it out while they were Ultimate Play the Game, not Rare.
Oh man!
Whoa. Yeah. Before they put out Saberwolf, before they made that into a killer, instinct character. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, this is getting a little off topic, but one thing that amuses me is that I think it's different. I think it might be different on the Xbox, but on at least N64 version of Conker's Bad Fur Day, his idle animation, he breaks out an OG Game Boy and starts playing it, and you could kind of hear the Killer Instinct music over it.
Oh, nice.
Oh
yeah. Because they're both rare games.
There was a Killer Instinct Game Boy game, so
exactly.
It wasn't good, but
no, but like the joke makes sense though, which is pretty great.
Yeah. So this one though, I was floored by that. I bought the hell out of that immediately when it came out. I was like, I want me some OG Donkey Kong, and goddamn is Donkey Kong hard. But they are releasing a game that was never officially released in the United States.
Yeah.
Called Sky Skipper. Now, apparently this had been released in Japan, but only 10 cabinets have been made for testing purposes in the U.S. of Sky Skipper, and only one cabinet remains. And that was the one that they had at Nintendo U.S. headquarters.
That's insane.
And they, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, like, Nintendo U.S. got a mandate from the Japan side to say, hey, can you rip the ROMs off of this board and send us the programming?
Really?
Nice. And they were like, wait, what? You're going to publish this? So I'm super excited because not only do I love arcade games from this era, like I really love the really difficult arcade games from this era, and Nintendo's were pretty difficult. I like Stern's the best, like Frenzy and Berserk. I love those games, and Minefield and the
Frenzy was where you could shoot through the walls and make your own path, right?
Correct. No, Frenzy. Oh, well, Frenzy's yeah, the second one. So you could do that in Frenzy.
I remember. I think I remember when we were at Yestercade. I think I remember playing Frenzy and like just trying to kill Evil Otto because each time you kill him, he comes back faster. I just wanted to see how fast he could get before I lost.
Oh, he gets ridiculous the third time.
Yeah, well, the part where I couldn't keep up, he was like instantly across the screen. Like there's nothing
you need to do it right by a door if you're gonna do that. Yeah. So I love those games. I love games that like kill you in the first level. I love those old arcade games that are like hard to master, that were almost too hard, like and discouraging to people.
I know that Frenzy is your jam, but I was really drawn to Sinistar. Like,
Sinistar's like that too.
What a creepy game.
Die.
Beware, I live. Run. I'm like, I will.
I can't
terrifying.
run. I'm in a spaceship. I am super excited to get this. Really, the only big Nintendo arcade games that still need to be released at this point are Super Punch-Out, which I'm absolutely sure is coming. And then there is what else would Popeye is probably never coming out.
Popeye, no way. The whole reason Donkey Kong exists is because they couldn't make Popeye happen, right?
Yeah, that's right.
No, Popeye was made eventually, though. There is a Popeye Nintendo arcade game.
Also, they did do it.
Released on the NES as well. I mean,
yeah, that is true. Yeah.
That is one of their classic games. Donkey Kong Jr. and Donkey Kong 3 have not been released yet either. So,
well, is the arcade version different from Nintendo in those cases?
So, just in terms of graphics and
That's true.
orientation. So
that's true. It's like Golden Axe.
Really, both of those games are pretty much unchanged, but I still want them in their original format with the tate orientation, with the
actually,
sideways screen.
Well, not to mention, it'd be nice to have a re-release anyway, just so you don't have to go buy a freaking Nintendo Entertainment System to play it.
Sure, and you know me, I'm a huge fan of Donkey Kong 3, so I can't wait to have an arcade perfect version of that.
You know what they need to release is, you know how Nintendo, like more than any other company by a mile, releases like tons of peripherals.
Yeah,
they ought to give you an arm wrestling peripheral, so they can release that arm wrestling game with Bald Bull in it.
Nice.
Apparently, that was played with a 5-way joystick, not an arm. Apparently.
Well, either way, there's heavy resistance though. Like you're not gonna bring your joystick and have it work. Like they're gonna need to give you something custom made for that.
I think it was played with just a normal joystick. I think a lot of it was button presses and like maneuvering the joystick at the right time in the right direction.
Never mind then.
It wasn't.
I'm just confusing it with like an actual arm wrestling game. I've seen it like a rest stop or something.
The game that you're thinking of, I think, is one of the Sonic Blast Man like spin-offs.
Maybe there was like the one I'm thinking of. There was an actual arm, and there's like no way of beating that.
I think that's Power Arm 1 and Power Arm 2, something like that, and you fight Sonic Blast Man in it, I think.
Nice.
I remember that from when I was a kid. I think that was made by Jalico. So anyway, I think those are all the really big things that I wanted to talk about in terms of E3 related stuff going around that. But I am, I was off the wall on all these things. I loved it. This was a great E3.
Yeah.
This is probably the best one since like Shenmue 3 was announced and all that. And Last Guardian was announced and all that stuff. So.
Oh, The Last Guardian was shocking.
Like, when you saw the gameplay video.
That was another thing where they showed you a gameplay teaser and people flipped, and then it was like 4 or 5, maybe even longer years of just silence to the point where people thought it was dead. What was it, like 7 years of silence where people like were sure that the project was canceled, and then like, nope.
The one I'm referring to, I think, happened 3 years ago, something like that, or 4 years ago.
Yeah, but the original teaser was a while ago, like when we were in college.
Sure.
Like on like for the PS3, so like we thought the project was dead, and then they're like, "Nope, we're making it. It's coming out soon." Like what? it's like Shenmue 3. Like like Sega finally lost the trademark, and that was when everyone like, I didn't really think they were gonna make it, but now it's dead for sure. And then they kickstarted. Like what? That was mind blowing.
So the last thing I wanted to talk about were some very nerdy things here, but fans have heard me talk about Super SD System 3, which is the optical drive emulator for the PC Engine and TurboGrafx 16.
Right.
So this was made by the guys who made the ROM cart, the first ROM cart for the Neo Geo systems. Now, it came out and it was not perfect. And then they came out with a revision, which is what I got. I got the version 2. And it still wasn't perfect. The video doesn't look the best, and it also has some sound issues. Well, 2 industrious guys named Firebrand X and Voltar have just come out with fixes.
Wait a minute, isn't Firebrand X the guy? Isn't Firebrand X the guy with the Framemeister profiles?
Exactly, that's him.
Damn, that guy's hardcore.
He's amazing. He's done so many cool things for the community. Like basically just out of the kindness of his heart to give people these things, because he could just keep these designs to himself just to fix it for himself, and then that's it. But he's been sharing all of his fixes and also wanting to release, how to fix these things for other people.
That's really nice.
And by the way, just to clarify what I meant, the Framemeister, the upscaler device, you could hook your old systems to, and it outputs an HDMI. What I mean by Framemeister profiles is the Framemeister is very customizable. You can adjust the width and the height of your picture. So like if you have little multicolored rainbow pixels on the bottom of the screen that you might have seen on your CRT TV, you could kind of like crop that out, stuff like that. You can adjust like lighting conditions. So when you're finally done tweaking your thing, you could save that profile, so you don't have to do that every single time because it'd be horrible. So Firebrand X has made lots of profiles for like every system he has access to and released them online, so you can just download them, put them onto a micro SD, and put them in your FrameMeister. It's amazing. And this includes obscure stuff like there are like 2 or 3 different kinds of profiles for the Sega Genesis, because there are some Genesis games that work in slightly different I think it's resolutions than others. Like some shooters won't look the same as like Sonic, so your picture might look a little weird. So he's like, I made 2 different profiles, and this guy's made like a 720 profile for the PS2, a 1080 profile for the PS2, like a sharp version, smooth version, depending on how you like your graphic. Like, this guy has really gone out of his way.
And the pixels are perfect. They're perfectly square. Like, he did all this research to make them sure that they fit exactly on your TV to make them perfectly square. Like, he's done a huge amount of work for the community in making sure that this stuff looks great.
That's amazing.
And in terms of, he's done a huge amount of really great work, and he's been doing it for the OSSC too, the open source scan converter.
Yeah, the rival to the FrameMeister.
He's also put out settings for the Super NT. The analog Super NT. Yeah, he's told people how to set it to make it look good in 5x settings and 4x settings.
Okay.
So if you don't mind some of the pixels being cut off like certain games have what's called overscan.
Yeah.
Like on an original what was that?
What was overscan already? I forget.
Yeah, I'll explain.
Oh, sorry.
So some of a lot of the games were made with some of the picture hanging off the screen because it wasn't it was just extra there to kind of just be there just in case a TV had a wider view when we were using old school tube televisions. A lot of times this was unused space at all. It was just black. So what he's made certain profiles that work for the games that have just black there, so you could zoom in even more. And then he's had ones that include the entirety of the picture.
Yeah, so this means, by the way, that not only did he make those profiles, but he also had to see which games did that.
Oh, yeah, no.
Because, like, even with the FrameMeister profiles, he has lists. Like, for that Sega Genesis thing I mentioned, like, he's like, here are the Sega games that do this, so you know to avoid them for this profile and use them for that profile. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So, apparently he has some electrical engineering experience, or is an electrical engineer, because he actually put up... So there was some problems with a buzzing sound happening whenever the CD would be being accessed by the PC Engine or TurboGrafx 16 on the Super SD System 3. And so this buzzing sound would happen, and people didn't know where the buzzing sound was coming from. They thought it was just like a factor of the system kind of interacting with a fake CD-ROM drive. You know, it's just like one of those things. He actually like set up a probe to find out exactly what part of the damn thing was making the sound, and replaced it with a resistor and or a capacitor, and that's all you need to do.
I wonder if he could do that with the Dreamcast, because that system is fucking loud.
Well,
sorry.
You got to remember that once you take out the CD-ROM drive, and put an optical drive emulator in that, which they do have, they have 2 of those for the Dreamcast. You don't hear it unless you just hear the fan there. But anyway.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is, because the Dreamcast has, I think it's the single loudest system I've ever personally interacted with.
It's even louder when the optical drive is going.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Some of my favorite memories are of playing Skies of Arcadia and it getting into the the ship battle scenes, and like all of a sudden your system would rev up like it was like a lawnmower or something.
Yeah. What? Hello?
What's going on? I'm playing a game.
Yeah. What?
But and then Voltar just made an amp to make the picture look good. It didn't look its best in the original, but he created a board and he put it on a website where you could just order the board, like you can order his design like piecemeal. They'll just print it for you for like $6. Like, he's not even selling it. He's putting it on a website where they'll just custom like print that board, that board's design when you ask them to on demand.
What a guy.
And he's just putting it up. He's not making any profit. You're basically just paying for parts, and that's it.
Okay,
Nice.
can we just say these guys are amazing? Like, really amazing?
Oh yeah, and
so
the community
good.
is aware of this too. Like, I've seen Firebrand X like posting even on the Facebook like upscaler thread, and I was like, oh, that's Firebrand X, the guy with
Wolf
the
King
website
Mar.
that's like profiles that like every once in a while he just has updates. He's like, I made them better. Like, he doesn't even just do all this research and put it out there. Like, he does more, and he's like, oh,
He's not happy with
improve
it.
This.
Man.
He's not happy with it. He'll even go into like color theory, like what does he think the original creators of the system want the colors to look like in the perfect
it's
world?
insane.
Because when they made these things, they made them for a wide range of TVs, and like all the TVs back then were going to display red a little bit differently, like different values of red a little bit differently. Like they weren't going. So like he and also interpreting like an analog signals, like what blue was supposed to look like on like, you know, Super Mario's like sky blue, what that was supposed to look like he fine-tunes the colors.
Yeah, and this is especially apparent with the original NES because it was only capable of so many colors.
Yeah, very, very little palette for that.
Like, I remember in Shovel Knight, one of the gimmicks of Shovel Knight is that it only used colors the original Nintendo used, with, I think, the single exception of Snow Knight, who was like, I think he had some kind of tan color, and he was notable for being like the exception to the Nintendo rule. Like, this guy couldn't have existed on the Nintendo system.
So, it does look like a Nintendo game in that way, but it actually didn't have the same limitations. So they actually had more colors displaying all at once than a Nintendo could do.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, that's fair enough.
But
okay.
it used its palettes and also had more sprites on screen.
Oh,
but
sure. Yeah, Nintendo would never have been able to put...
You would die trying to output that, yeah.
To the untrained eye, it looks just like a Nintendo game.
I mean,
so.
and like even in Ninja Gaiden, like I've seen, like, no, actually even better, Contra, I've seen speedrunners that like know the game perfectly, and the biggest thing that scares them is if enemies spawn behind them just for lag. Like it's like, oh no, I lost like 2 seconds, which actually matters in Contra.
Yeah. So, I just wanted to talk about those things because I was super excited because now I can have like the perfect setup because I have a Super Graphics and I can have this optical drive emulator and play all the games all on one system, no problems, and it'll look great.
Man, kudos to both those guys, man, especially for working on something that's not mainstream at all, like the TurboGrafx 16. I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
It's
and they do it all for free.
With people, and not only that, but not only that, it's not even like just the TurboGrafx 16, but it's the people who got like the optical drive. Like, it's if you ordered those already esoteric like optical drive replacements for them. It's for like that community.
Yeah, exactly. This is quite something, honestly.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't have any other announcements or comments, I think we'll wrap up the show for this week. So this was the...
Yeah, I guess the only other thing I would say regarding Nintendo lag, this just goes back to one more speedrun thing that cracked me up, because this shows you how much the Nintendo had to work for what it did. But it was one of the Mega Man speedruns. It was like 2 or 3 or something. And one of the speedrun techniques was to like press a button just as you would have died, but you're transitioning on a screen or something, so something doesn't activate, so the game thinks you died, but not really, so you can continue. The funny thing is, though, like, one of the side effects was that the music was canceled, because, you know, normally when it goes, like, when you die, like, everything resets, so the music just stops. And the people are saying, like, actually this is a good thing, though, because over the course of the rest of this level, it'll save, like, such and such amount of time, because the music also is part of the processing power of the Nintendo, so you can save like imperceptible amounts of time.
Oh, that's nice.
Was that Mega Man 3 where you could press up on the player 2 controller and jump out of a pit?
Well, that wasn't a thing in the run anyway, but like it was something weird with screen transitioning, but it was like 2 or 3 or something. But it was just like an amusing thing that, like, yes, even the music contributes to lag. Nobody just says anything though, because there's nothing you can do about it. But here's a weird time where you can.
So that's the show for this week. That was our very first show on the new channel. I'm glad we had a nice beefy one here.
Yeah.
So please remember to subscribe to the Corrective Consciousness YouTube and SoundCloud pages. I mean it this time. Yeah, please subscribe to the actual Corrective Consciousness YouTube page now, because we will be transitioning. We won't be on Lotus's for very long, so please make the effort to just subscribe and hit that bell. While there, please give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes, and please give us comments on to get this this going here. We want to see the interactivity here, and hear what you guys had to think about these announcements and everything. And also, if anybody could share our the links to the podcast on Facebook and Twitter and wherever else you are, I would be very, very, very grateful. So all these things help promote and spread awareness of the show and the new channel, and any bit of encouragement helps keep us going. You can catch us on Thursdays on our sister podcast, Corrective Consciousness. Our first Thursday podcast will be next in a couple of days. The podcast about our lives and pop culture. Finally, you can friend me as vysethebold on Steam, PSN, Xbox Live, Twitter, Switch, and Battle.net.
And you can follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You could hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you are interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, and getting involved in a Discord with all other patrons, then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
And you can find me on YouTube or Steam under Fakafon. You can find me on Twitter under Lou Fakafon, that's Lou with a P. And you can also check out my webcomic on kadrula.com.
Yeah, and you posted up some original content art recently. It looked really good.
Yeah, thank you. It's actually, I'm working on creating a Patreon page for my webcomic, and these are going to be the tiers.
Marvelous.
Excellent. And I will cry along with them.
God damn it.
Took me a second.
Tears.
So we will catch you on Thursday, guys.
Until next time, everyone.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.